My own parents labeled me a traitor, all because I decided to cancel the Florida trip they had deceived me into, simply to escape the role of their unpaid babysitter. Hi, I'm Rachel, 33 years old and child-free by choice. This decision has led me to become the family's go-to helper, that is, until I finally found the courage to say no. I decided to book a one-way ticket to Maui, leaving them to sort out the rest. Yet, what unfolds when the act of embracing peace seems akin to treachery? When your silence begins to resonate more powerfully than spoken words? Have you ever felt pressured to do something simply because you carry the weight of responsibility? I would be eager to learn about your approach to the situation. Share your tale in the comments. After 3 long years of late nights, missed weekends, and dedicating every bit of my energy to my work, I finally pressed submit on my vacation request. 10 days, an entire span of time that was solely mine. Without meetings, deadlines fade away, and the pretense of cheerful interactions over coffee-stained reports disappears. I reclined in my old, creaky apartment chair, allowing the thought to settle in my mind. It had been since 2019 that I last enjoyed more than just a long weekend away. Visions of wonder began to take shape within my thoughts. In the quiet of early mornings, the water beckons for a swim, while paperback novels await at the cozy beachside cafes. The gentle lull of the ocean replaces the incessant buzz of Slack notifications, inviting a peaceful slumber. The warmth of the sun seemed to envelop me as I flipped through images of idyllic tropical resorts. As I prepared to delve into a comparison of 2 enchanting hotels in Maui, my phone suddenly buzzed. The message came from Mom. As the clock strikes 5 on a Sunday evening, the aroma of dinner fills the air. Keen. Remember this. Indeed. A gathering of loved ones around the table. Like an unyielding force, ever present and often troublesome. With a gentle tap on the message, I let out a sigh and shut my laptop, the weight of the moment settling in. Such was the way of the Walkers. Regardless of age or distance, Sunday dinner remained an unwavering tradition, particularly when it was accompanied by Mom's distinctive voice, sweet as syrup and just as clingy. 3 days later, I stepped onto a swift flight from New York to Austin. It was evident that the TSA agent was taken aback when I mentioned my plans to fly solely for the weekend. "Kin?" he inquired. Regrettably, I responded before I had the chance to hold back. He let out a soft laugh. I did not. As I rolled into my parents' driveway, the familiar whirlwind of suburban life was already in full swing. Jason's minivan sat askew in the driveway, its windows obscured by a haze of tiny fingerprints. Melissa's SUV sat close by, overflowing with toys, snack wrappers, and 2 vacant car seats, telling a story of adventures and journeys taken. Within the walls of the house, a cacophony erupted, reminiscent of a zoo just before the feeding frenzy. Children's voices rang out in exuberant shouts, while adults engaged in a spirited exchange, their words overlapping in a chaotic symphony. Meanwhile, the dishwasher labored in vain, attempting to mask the vibrant clamor that filled the air. As I entered, Mom's gaze met mine without hesitation. There she stands, her voice rising, arms stretched wide in embrace. We were engaged in a conversation about our plans for the summer. Before I could even place my purse on the table, Jason's voice echoed from the living room. "Rachel, could you please fetch Sophie?" Once more, she is attempting to scale the towering bookshelf. Without a doubt, she was. I hurried across the room and scooped up my niece just in time to prevent her from toppling the family photos perched on the top shelf. Sophie let out a joyful squeal, her arms encircling my neck, laughter spilling forth as if I were her very own source of entertainment. "Thanks," Jason muttered, his eyes glued to the screen as he focused intently on the game with Caleb. "You owe me a margarita," I replied, fully aware that it would remain just a fleeting promise, never to be fulfilled. The aroma of roast chicken and mashed potatoes filled the kitchen, embodying the essence of Walker's comfort food tradition. Mom was retrieving dinner rolls from the oven as if it were a festive Thanksgiving feast. Dad stood behind her, meticulously carving the meat with the precision of a heart surgeon, each slice deliberate and focused. "Dinner's nearly prepared," Mom announced. "There's an abundance of topics waiting for us to explore." I settled into my chair at the far end of the table, the very spot that once belonged to Grandma before she left us. It consistently carried a chill, a sense of separation from the unfolding events, yet this evening it granted me an ideal vantage point to watch. Jason and Melissa found themselves deep in conversation, their words weaving together as they navigated the topic of plane tickets and Florida. As I settled in, I caught Melissa mentioning that the resort features a splash pad and a lazy river. The children are about to go wild. Which resort? I inquired. Jason lifted his gaze, a smile spreading across his face, the kind that beckons us all forward. Did Mom not mention it to you? This year, our thoughts drift to the sun-kissed shores of Clearwater Beach in Florida. Will you be joining us? I had been contemplating a journey on my own, I responded carefully, to a serene place, just for myself. Melissa tilted her head, was she truly alone? That evokes a sense of melancholy, Ratch. Isn't it important to share moments with the family? Years have passed since our last journey together. I blinked, momentarily caught off guard. Are you referring to the trip to the mountain? Remember those days when I stayed indoors with the kids while everyone else enjoyed the hiking adventures? That was unusual, Jason remarked hastily. The children were in their earlier years. They remain young and innocent. This time, we'll lend a hand, Mom added with enthusiasm. If you prefer, you can remain completely at ease without having to do anything at all. Uncertainty clouded my thoughts, leaving me at a loss for words. Every fiber of my being yearned to cry out, I don't believe you, yet as I glanced around, silence enveloped me. Every face was filled with anticipation, brimming with hope. Even the children fidgeting in their chairs were buzzing with anticipation at the thought of a beach getaway. It seems that way. Perhaps, I murmured, barely aware of my own words. A cheer broke forth. Mother brought her hands together in applause. Jason and Melissa exchanged a high five, as if celebrating a victory together. I offered a faint smile, yet deep down, it felt as though I had committed to something without fully understanding the implications. The evening meal unfolded. Amidst the tales and chuckles, juice cascaded onto the table, while lively discussions unfolded over the final roll. In a moment of pure whimsy, Emma playfully smeared mashed potatoes across her face, her laughter ringing out like music in the air. Jason glanced in my direction and flicked a baby wipe toward me. Could you please tidy up Emma for a moment? Not a single morsel of my own meal had crossed my lips yet. Time seemed to stand still for a moment. In that moment, I moved instinctively, gently wiping her cheeks, offering a smile to maintain harmony, and returning her to her father. He failed to express any gratitude. The atmosphere hummed with joy, a sense of belonging wrapped around me, chaotic yet comforting, while my plate sat there, neglected. I gazed at the mashed potatoes, their once warm texture now transformed into a cool, solid mass. My vacation transformed from the gentle caress of ocean breezes and moments of solitude to the sensation of sunscreen-sticky hands and the hum of background noise, so this is what they referred to as family time. We've already secured the rooms, Ratch, Mom exclaimed over the phone as if it were a delightful revelation. Simply board the same flight, and you're all set. Isn't that simple? As I struggled with the obstinate zipper of my suitcase, I wedged the phone between my ear and shoulder, determined to multitask. I made an effort, I stated, striving to maintain a calm tone, yet the flight is at capacity. The finest I could uncover departs a day later. A moment of stillness lingered in the air. Oh, Mom remarked, well, that's all right. You'll find a moment of peace before the thrill begins. A beach chair awaits your arrival. It wasn't her words that troubled me. Her tone was strikingly indifferent. In a different time, she would have spiraled into a whirlwind of anxiety. Imagine a scenario where your sister finds herself in need of assistance with the children while navigating the bustling airport. Who will take charge of the diaper bag? But now, it was a matter of, I'll see you when you arrive. Once the call ended, I found myself perched on the edge of my bed, gazing intently at my packing list. Swimsuits, flip-flops, and books that would remain untouched if the past were to unfold once more. The apartment felt stifling, the heat wrapping around like a heavy blanket. The sweltering New York summer seeped through my fractured window, while my air conditioner clattered ominously, threatening to surrender at any moment. A soft chime echoed from my laptop, drawing my attention. A message from the workplace. Marcy, my boss, was there to remind me to finalize the campaign timeline before my departure. I responded, "Got it," then added with a hint of humor, "Unless my family pulls me into free babysitting again." Marcy replied in less than a minute. "It seems you haven't quite mastered the art of refusal yet, have you? Rachel, you are not a caregiver. You are an independent woman with paid time off and a solid credit score." A smile crept across my face. That was Marcy, straightforward yet infused with a touch of warmth that transformed her words into guidance rather than criticism. The following days melded into a seamless flow of tasks, appointments, and midnight excursions to the store. With travel-sized sunscreen in hand, I carefully packed my snacks and ensured all my devices were fully charged. What I refrained from doing, what I anticipated, was the unavoidable message, a call for urgency. "Would you be able to look after Liam for a few hours?" Yet it remained absent. For 3 entire weeks, not a single soul approached me with a request to babysit. Melissa shared with me some captivating images of the resort. Jason sent a hilarious meme that perfectly captured the essence of vacation dad mode. Even Mom shared a link to the weather in Clearwater Beach, accompanied by a cheerful sun emoji. It unfolded in an oddly courteous manner, serene even. A flicker of doubt crept into my mind, suggesting that perhaps, just perhaps, their words held a deeper truth. Perhaps they had come to understand that I was more than just the solitary sister without commitments. Perhaps this time, they genuinely wished for me to unwind as well. On the eve of my departure, I found myself in the kitchen, meticulously folding clothes into tidy rolls. The suitcase lay open on the table, its contents only partially arranged within. I had gone ahead and ordered a new beach towel adorned with cheerful pineapples. It seemed almost ridiculous how much hope I had allowed to blossom within me. Suddenly, my phone vibrated with a buzz. A message arrived from Melissa. The preview illuminated my lock screen. "She genuinely thinks we won't request her to look after the kids." In that moment, I found myself completely immobilized. My thumb lingered just above the screen, poised for action. The message had vanished, erased from existence. Yet, the moment had passed. I had already gone through it. Every word echoed in my mind, a relentless loop of thought. Each syllable weighed down upon me, an inescapable burden I couldn't shake off. I entered the chat room. Only a fresh message awaited. "I'm eagerly anticipating those refreshing drinks by the pool." I gazed at it intently. As I gazed at my suitcase, a flood of thoughts washed over me. The shirts were rolled up neatly. The sunblock. A small bottle of aloe vera I had included, just to be prepared. With a sense of anticipation, I navigated to my photo app and captured a screenshot of the preview message. I wanted to confirm that it was real and not a figment of my imagination. I had not. That single sentence unraveled the entire story. The courtesy. The tranquility. The complete absence of communication regarding childcare support. It was not transformation. It was a carefully crafted plan. My time had not been respected. They had recently discovered the art of discretion in their intentions. The chill of the phone screen sent a shiver through my fingers. I settled into my seat, the pineapple towel bunching up in my lap. It was a deep-seated awareness. It was undeniable evidence. In the distance, a siren's wail drifted softly across the urban landscape. Twice, the neighbor's dog let out a sharp bark, breaking the stillness of the day. In the distance, a cabinet was forcefully shut, echoing through the corridor. Life continued its course, seemingly untouched by the shifts that had occurred. Yet for me, a shift had occurred. I cast a glance over my suitcase. Unveil. Anticipatory. Unbeknownst to it, the journey ahead was on the verge of transformation. I decided to cancel my hotel in Florida and confirmed a one-way ticket to Maui. It unfolded quietly, devoid of any elaborate celebration or stirring melodies echoing through the air. In the stillness, a gentle click of the mouse echoed, accompanied by the soft hum of my aging apartment fan, while the lingering aroma of overripe bananas hung in the air, a reminder of my neglect. I remained motionless for what felt like an eternity, my gaze fixed on the confirmation email glowing on my laptop screen. My heart remained calm. My hands remained steady. In that moment, a sense of tranquility washed over me. This was not a display of frustration. This was unveiled. Marcy's words echoed in my mind, cutting through the haze like a guiding light in the darkness. Do not allow guilt to dictate your travel plans. Indeed, guilt had taken root. For the first time in years, I found myself heading to a place that took everyone by surprise, quite literally. I started to act decisively, shutting down browser tabs, erasing the Florida plans, and pulling folders labeled Clearwater Beach into the trash. With a deep breath, I rose to my feet and began the process of packing anew. This time, it was neither sunscreen for toddlers nor puzzle books designed to entertain children during a flight. There I was, accompanied only by a gentle linen cover-up, 2 long-awaited books, a journal to capture my thoughts, a sleek black bathing suit, and a modest tube of aloe vera, fully aware that I intended to embrace the sun's warmth, even if it meant a little burn. I carefully tucked away a solitary dress, one that had remained untouched and hidden from the sun since the days before the pandemic. I found myself uncertain about the occasion for wearing it, yet the thought of possibly doing so intrigued me. Later that night, I gathered with the family for dinner, a final scene in the unfolding story before I exited the stage. As I stepped inside, the familiar cacophony enveloped me, plastic cups clinking together, the aroma of overcooked vegetables wafting through the air, and the sounds of children either shrieking with delight or fatigue, or perhaps a mix of both. Melissa welcomed me with a radiant smile and an embrace that lingered just enough to seem a bit staged. Jason found himself in a playful struggle with Olivia beneath the dining room table. The children eagerly anticipate constructing sandcastles alongside their beloved aunt, he remarked. Make sure to grab your beach shovel. I offered a subtle smile, just a hint of warmth. I will explore the possibilities and take action accordingly. I took my seat. I served the plates. I absorbed the latest news on summer sports schedules and the intricacies of camp drop-offs. I nodded as Mom reminded everyone to pack matching swimsuits for our family beach photo. Once, I found myself chuckling at a joke Dad shared, comparing the Florida humidity to the intensity of toddler tantrums. I embraced my character so completely that I almost lost sight of my true self. As the night deepened and I gathered the final belongings, I reached for my phone and sent a message to Marcy. There has been a shift in our intentions. I am embarking on a journey to Hawaii. Her response came without hesitation. I'm really proud of you. Once you arrive, please share a photo, ideally featuring a coconut drink. The following morning, I chose not to leave a note. I left without saying goodbye to anyone. With my suitcase in hand, I hailed a cab and observed the well-known cityscape transform into a soft glow of sunrise as we journeyed toward JFK. The airport held a stillness that took me by surprise. The hour was still young, and the hustle and bustle had yet to unfold. As I walked by, I noticed a young couple adorned in matching hoodies, an elderly man sporting a cowboy hat engrossed in his newspaper, and a teenager in pajama pants holding tightly onto a stuffed turtle. In the shadows, I remained unseen, a figure lost to the world around me. There were no expectations placed upon me by anyone. I stepped aboard, located my seat by the window, and made myself comfortable. A flight attendant presented me with a small water bottle. I accepted it with gratitude, setting it down on the tray table, leaving it unopened. With the final passengers settling into their seats and the overhead bins snapping closed, I instinctively grabbed my phone. Inhale slowly, filling your lungs with air. With a gentle touch, I pressed the small airplane icon. In an instant, I vanished without a trace. The tarmac outside the window glistened under the bright morning sun. The aircraft started its journey on the ground, gradually picking up speed until, with a gentle surge, it ascended above the muted rooftops and the warm summer mist. I reclined, shut my eyes, and murmured softly, "Let them unravel the mystery." Enough with the explanations. Cease the need for apologies. I no longer feel the need to explain why I chose not to be the family's backup option. This had transcended their involvement. This narrative centered around my experiences. The gentle hum of the engine wrapped around me like a comforting embrace. I envisioned the influx of messages that would inevitably accumulate. In what place do you find yourself? Have you perhaps overlooked the flight? Yet, an overwhelming sense of silence enveloped me, leaving no desire to reply. Not at this moment. Perhaps not in the slightest. After so many years, a newfound softness graced my face. My jaw relaxed. I was being genuine. I was not engaged in any negotiation. The clock was not on my mind. I soared through the skies, chasing the essence of liberation. In that moment, serenity enveloped me. As soon as my feet touched the ground in Maui, I decided to keep my phone off. As I strolled through the open-air terminal, I inhaled the warm floral air, savoring it like a healing balm. The palm trees danced gently in the warm breeze. A ukulele strummed softly in the distance, its notes weaving through the air like a gentle whisper. The embrace was precisely what my spirit craved. I refused to allow a mere text notification to spoil the moment. As I approached the hotel check-in desk, a young woman greeted me with a warm smile and handed over my room key. "Is this your inaugural visit?" "Indeed," I affirmed. "Yet, I sense this won't be the final chapter." As I ascended in the elevator to the third floor, I wheeled my suitcase into a sun-drenched room that offered a breathtaking view of the ocean. I settled onto the balcony, refreshing myself with a chilled glass of water. My gaze lingered on the horizon, lost in thought for what felt like an eternity. At some point, I realized it was time to look at my phone. As I flipped the switch, it emitted a sound reminiscent of a confined creature, buzzing with an unsettling energy. Then once more, until the vibrations fused into an unending quiver. Unanswered calls, recorded messages, buzzing group chats, and text shouting my name in all caps. My fingers lingered just above the screen, as if I were on the brink of defusing a ticking bomb. The initial message I encountered was from my mother. "In what place do you find yourself?" The aircraft touched down several hours prior. Once upon a time, there was a character named Jason. Registration complete. The resort is bustling with activity. The children inquire about your whereabouts every 5 minutes. Melissa. Could this be a prank? Did you really miss the flight? It was then that the voicemails arrived. One from Susan, my mother, stretched on for 2 full minutes. I didn't even hit play. I could surmise what lay within. A sense of letdown, a weight of remorse, and a lingering notion that I bore the blame for it all. I continued to scroll, one after the other. The flow of messages transformed, evolving from a state of confusion to one of frustration, then spiraling into guilt, and ultimately culminating in outright accusation. "You disappointed the children. Melissa and I find ourselves overwhelmed. You promised you would be here." Silence enveloped my response. With a few taps on my screen, I entered the group chat and conveyed my message: "Please don't disturb my vacation." With a deliberate motion, I placed the phone face down on the bedside table. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I made my way to the bar nestled beside the shimmering pool. The atmosphere was serene, punctuated only by the soft whispers of the ocean waves and the distant chime of glass meeting glass. I ordered a Mai Tai and settled into a solitary spot at the far end, nestled beneath a canopy of twinkling string lights. Beside me was an older couple, their hair a soft gray and their skin touched by the sun, enjoying a pink, frozen drink. They appeared as though they had shared a lifetime of love and companionship. She donned a wide-brimmed hat, complemented by a necklace crafted from delicate tiny shells. Her gaze fell upon my phone, resting silently on the bar, its screen untouched and dim. In her moment of desperation, she inquired about the possibility of escape. A subtle smile graced my lips. "Endeavoring to." Her husband let out a soft laugh. "Eventually, phones find their way back, just as people do." "I understand," I replied, "but at this moment, I'm imagining that I reside on another world." The woman inclined her body ever so slightly. At times, safeguarding your tranquility may appear as a betrayal to those who thrived in your quietude. My gaze fell upon her, a jolt of surprise coursing through me. The words resonated more profoundly than I had anticipated. Without probing any deeper, she lifted her glass, and I mirrored her gesture. As the night deepened, I found myself seated cross-legged on my bed, a towel still clinging to my damp hair. The room was shrouded in shadows, illuminated solely by the soft, warm light emanating from a lamp positioned near the balcony door. I glanced at my phone once more. Yet another call from Mom that went unanswered. For a fleeting instant, I contemplated allowing it to slip into voicemail, yet an undeniable urge, perhaps curiosity, compelled me to swipe and answer. "Rachel Marie," she erupted. "What on earth is happening? Are you aware of the extent of our concern?" I assured her, "I'm fine, Mom," with a sense of tranquility in my voice. "Where might you be? You missed the flight, and you kept it to yourself." "I understand. One cannot simply vanish into thin air like that." "I did not vanish," I asserted. "I finally ventured to the place I truly desired to be." A moment of stillness hung in the air, then it pierced through with a sudden intensity. "Your actions are remarkably self-centered." I released a breath through my nostrils. "No, Mom, what's truly selfish is anticipating that I would sacrifice my first vacation in years just to care for your grandkids while you enjoy cocktails." "That's not what this was it?" I said. Melissa's message subtly revealed the truth. "What is the message?" In that moment, she inadvertently revealed to someone that I genuinely thought I wouldn't be taking on the role of babysitter. My mother hesitated. "That was an unfortunate miscommunication." Numerical value. "That was a plan," I declared, my voice unwavering. "Yet, you never inquired of me. You thought I would simply arrive and conform as I always have." In the spirit of our trust, she made an attempt. "Your dependability shines through." "No," I declared. "Because I am susceptible to being exploited." Her silence on the other end resonated with a weight that eclipsed any shout. "You know what," I said. "This stands on its own merit. I'm enjoying a getaway. I find myself in a place of safety. Joy fills my heart. That ought to suffice for you, Rachel." Yet, I had already pressed the button to conclude the conversation. My thumb lingered in the air for a moment. With a decisive click, I navigated to the family group chat settings and silenced the notifications. In that moment, I decided to sever the connection and blocked the chat. I remained perfectly still in that moment, anticipating the inevitable surge of guilt that might come flooding in. Yet it did not. In that moment, I experienced a sensation that had eluded me for ages, a profound weightlessness. As I slipped into a light cotton dress, I took hold of my room key and made my way barefoot to the point where the beach kissed the bar deck at the edge of the resort. I discovered that familiar seat beneath the twinkling string lights. Once again, I found myself ordering another Mai Tai. I chose not to look at my phone. I found no necessity to do so. I reclined in the chair, shut my eyes, and allowed the gentle breeze to weave through my hair. The air was infused with the scent of salt mingling with blossoms. Allow them to remain in the stillness they have fashioned. The messages continued to arrive, one after another. "Since you disappeared, Lisa and I haven't enjoyed a single peaceful dinner," Jason wrote. "I appreciate that." As I sat cross-legged on a cushioned lounge chair beneath the gentle sway of the plumeria tree, my gaze was fixed on the screen before me. The atmosphere was gentle. The air was infused with the scents of ripe fruit and the briny essence of the sea. And yet my fingers tightened their grip around the phone. The glow emanating from the screen caused a dull throb in my eyes. A new message came through, this time from Melissa. "I informed Olivia of your absence. She wept for an hour, and then another followed. She claimed that your love for her has faded. And yet another. We are putting forth our utmost effort, Rach. This challenge weighs heavily on us as well." With a decisive gesture, I shut the app and secured my phone, sealing away the digital world for the moment. It proved to be of no assistance. Their words wrapped around me like a heavy shroud. I reclined and gazed upward, attempting to inhale despite the mounting weight in my chest, a sensation that transformed even the most serene paradise into a constricting corridor. I reached for my journal resting on the side table and turned to a fresh page, yearning to pen my escape from the turmoil. Yet my hand lingered, the pen tip ready, as recollections surged forth unexpectedly. 3 years passed, a journey through winter's embrace. In the heart of Colorado, the family found themselves nestled in a cozy ski cabin, ready to embrace the winter wonderland that surrounded them. I had arrived excited, thinking maybe this time would be different. As the sun rose on the second day, Caleb found himself unwell. The fever gripped me, the stomach flu took hold, and thus began the entire ordeal. By day 3, I was wiping up vomit, folding laundry and boiling rice for bland meals while everyone else hit the slopes. Jason shared selfies from the gondola, while Melissa included me in a family photo, captioned with a heartfelt, "Wish you were here." I had been present, yet unseen. The memory made my eyes sting. I placed the journal down and rose to my feet. The ocean sparkled enticingly just a few yards away, yet instead of making my way to the beach, I found myself drawn back to the resort's rental hut. I sought an escape, a pursuit that demanded equilibrium, a venture that allowed no space for remorse. An hour later, I found myself unsteadily balancing on a paddleboard, my knees quaking as gentle waves caressed the board's edge. The instructor offered encouragement, sharing a few helpful tips and a reassuring thumbs up as I set off. Yet, amidst the vastness of the water, a place where freedom should have enveloped me, my thoughts remained stubbornly unyielding. Jason's voice echoed once more in my mind. "I appreciate that." It felt as though I had stolen something precious from them, as if my tranquility was a debt I owed. As the afternoon waned, I found myself traversing a slender path that wound its way to a hidden waterfall nestled within the embrace of the mountainside. As I meandered along the trail, I encountered pairs and solitary wanderers, catching fragments of their joyful, inconsequential exchanges. There were no expectations placed upon me by anyone here. No one was silently tallying how helpful or disappointing I'd been. At the top, I sat on a flat rock beside the falls, damp shoes dangling in the cool stream. I observed the water cascade, boundless and indifferent. In that fleeting instant, I longed to melt away into it. That evening, I found myself back in my room, reaching for the phone to call Marcy. Her visage emerged on the screen, encircled by the office window and towering piles of documents. "Ah, how intriguing you are. Your radiance carries the essence of a carefree spirit, touched by the warmth of the sun." I chuckled once, devoid of amusement. "Am I?" With a quizzical lift of her eyebrow, she expressed her intrigue. What transpired? I revealed it all to her. The words, the remorse, the weeping niece, the quiet from my mother that stung deeper than any spoken hurt. Upon finishing, she leaned in closer. "Rachel, your absence goes unnoticed. They long for the unencumbered assistance." "That is not equivalent." I hesitated before responding. She pressed on. "You have consistently been the steadfast support, the one who lends a hand, yet who takes the time to see how you are doing? Who ensures your well-being?" Before I could hold them back, my eyes brimmed with tears. I pressed my knuckles against my lips. It was neither loud nor messy. It was a cry that resonated from a place far beyond mere exhaustion. The echoes of countless unnoticed instances emerged at last. She allowed me to linger in quietude for a moment. As I began to speak once more, my voice emerged softly. "All I desired was a single getaway." "And you accepted it," she remarked. "Excellent." Once the call ended, I reclined on the bed, my gaze fixed on the ceiling fan as it turned in slow, languid circles. In the stillness of the room, a gentle light enveloped everything in a warm embrace. The scent of sunscreen mingled with the briny essence of salt clung to my skin. A paradox of emptiness and fullness enveloped me. With a sense of finality, I reached for my phone and opened the group chat one last time. The most recent message from Jason conveyed a sense of urgency. "If you no longer care about us, just say it." I embarked on a journey I had never summoned the courage to undertake before. the app has been removed from my device. Not driven by malice, nor fueled by rage, but compelled by need. Then I revisited my messages. Not the group thread, just the main screen, and I typed slowly. I'll catch you when I return, or perhaps not at all. I pressed the send button, then switched off the phone and laid it face down on the table. The wind danced among the palm trees, whispering secrets of the day. For the first time since my arrival, I sensed that the tempest within me was beginning to subside. On a Tuesday, the bouquet made its appearance. The arrangement stood tall. A glass vase, too narrow for their stems, held sunflowers, irises, and an unnamed purple flower, all jostling for space within its confines. A yellow sticky note, folded neatly over the rim, was all that remained, no card in sight. Appreciation is clearly absent. Jason stood at the crossroads, contemplating his next move. I gazed at it on my kitchen counter for what felt like an eternity before finally relocating it to the window. There, it basked in the morning light, appearing much more inviting than the note that accompanied it. Somewhere behind that note, I felt a sharp, unspoken regret lingering in the air. A man caught in the web of his own pride, unable to utter the words of apology, yet burdened by a sense of guilt that compels him to reach out in some way. It wasn't enough, but it was something. I poured my coffee and took it out onto the fire escape. The New York summer was still thick in the air, but there was a breeze. And it carried the faint scent of asphalt and roasted peanuts from the cart on the corner. Several weeks had gone by since my return from Maui. I remained mostly silent. I had not replied to any messages. The family group chat remained bustling with activity, its red notification bubble a clear sign that conversations were thriving in my absence. Instead, I had embraced a fresh chapter. Serene mornings, aimless strolls through Central Park, workdays that concluded punctually, and meals prepared solely for my enjoyment. I had taken to safeguarding my tranquility as one would cherish a hidden sanctuary, open yet no longer belonging to the masses. Then the letter arrived. It came in Melissa's handwriting on cream-colored stationery as if formality might cushion the weight of what needed to be said. She penned, "I was mistaken. I believed I was bringing you into the fold, but in truth, I was merely designating you a role. I never inquired whether you were willing to assist. I merely took it for granted. And when you failed to appear, a sense of abandonment washed over me. However, that was due to my decision to assign you a role that you never consented to take on. I sincerely apologize, Rachel." There were no justifications, only a message that read, "I hope that one day we can find ourselves sitting next to each other, not out of obligation, but out of desire." With a gentle motion, I folded the letter and carefully placed it in the back of my journal. A few days later, I got a text from Mom. "Your absence is deeply felt." At that moment, it eluded our perception. We certainly do now. For what felt like an eternity, I found myself fixated on those two sentences. They were simple, yet they held their ground without hesitation. For my mother, that was a significant turning point. I responded, "Coffee?" We met at a cafe halfway between her hotel and my apartment. She arrived ahead of time, a rarity in my memory, and rose to her feet as I entered the room. Her face appeared gentler, as if she had released a burden that had been trapped within her for years. We placed our order for lattes and settled into our seats by the window, watching the world unfold outside. In the initial moments of our conversation, we exchanged thoughts on the weather and shared a light-hearted story about a squirrel that had leapt onto her hotel balcony. The role I fulfill. Nothing too burdensome. With a deliberate motion, she delved into her purse and retrieved a napkin. "I jotted down a few notes," she said, her voice strained. "I aim to stay composed and avoid any mistakes." I offered a smile, choosing to remain silent. As she started to unfold the napkin, it struck me that we have consistently viewed you as the one who required nothing. It was simply because the question was never posed. Because you were strong. And we leaned on that. Too much. I looked at her, but she didn't meet my eyes. "I apologize. It's more than just Florida. For everything that has transpired. Each time I mentioned that you're single, it was clear you had the time to lend a hand. It felt unjust. Yet, the reality was far from that. A sensation of release washed over me, as if a weight had lifted from my chest. Not quite absolution, but perhaps space for it. I expressed that I wasn't prepared to return to Sunday dinner. She gave a swift nod. All is well. Perhaps one day. Her hand extended toward mine across the table. When the moment feels right for you, at your own pace. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, I found myself steering into my parents' driveway, the clock ticking just shy of 6. The house appeared unchanged. The identical wreath hangs on the door. The familiar fissure in the concrete by the porch. Yet, an unmistakable shift lingered in the air. The evening meal unfolded in a hushed atmosphere. As I entered, the children weren't immediately thrust upon me. Melissa took it upon herself to corral Olivia as she began to scale the couch. Jason failed to offer me a sippy cup. As the salad made its way around the table, Susan took my hand in hers, her voice barely above a whisper as she expressed her gratitude, saying, "Thank you for making us better." I chose to remain silent. I offered her a gentle smile as I continued to pass the bowl along. As I navigated the quiet streets that night, the cool breeze tousling my hair with the windows rolled down, reflections of our journey danced in my mind. Though they had not reached perfection, their efforts were evident. And I had finally emerged from the shadows. Upon arriving home, I flicked on the lamp beside my desk, opened my laptop, and glanced over my work calendar. A new block of time lay before me, unwrapped and waiting to be explored. I initiated a new vacation request. The journey ahead remains a mystery, with no destination in sight. Authorization is now unnecessary. Reflecting on that moment, I remain uncertain about which act required greater bravery, abandoning that flight or allowing my voice to emerge. Yet, in my pursuit of tranquility, I discovered something far more valuable than mere respite. In that moment, understanding emerged. At times, those we hold dear overlook the notion that silence can signify consent. It's merely fatigue, and setting limits is not a form of treachery. They are calls to evolve. Families evolve when we shed our facades and embrace honest communication. If this tale resonates with a moment when you had to prioritize your own needs, I would be eager to listen to your experience. Express your reflections, for tales akin to ours are more prevalent than we realize.